So we got in touch with Adam Andrzejewski to find out more. So Adam, according to your research, there are strong financial ties between Qatari-based entities and Northwestern University. Is that correct?
So Northwestern is one of 5 other schools that actually have degree-conferring campuses back in the nation of Qatar. So, Northwestern, it's called NUQ. That's their campus back in quote-unquote Education City in the country of Qatar. There's 5 others, and it's all universities with major areas of successful education practices. Like you have Texas A&M on energy technology. You've got Cornell Medical School, foremost in the world in the School of Medicine. So you've got these prestigious universities, these elite universities that have been, the big question is whether they've been captured by foreign elements like Qatar, like Middle Eastern countries who have poured, Qatar has poured over nearly $700 million, for instance, into Northwestern for this campus and other purposes.
So Northwestern's campus, the main one, is based there in Evanston, Illinois, which is kind of a suburb north of Chicago. It's on Lake Michigan, and that's the university I guess we're talking about. But so what you're saying, though, is that this is not unusual in academic circles. A lot of major universities have campuses in places like Qatar. And of course, what do we know about Qatar and its ties with Hamas?
Well, they house Hamas leadership. That's the news reporting. They live very luxurious lifestyles back in Qatar. So Qatar always has had, one foot in support of the United States and one foot in support of, for instance, Hamas leadership. So look, with Northwestern, for instance, on their degree-conferring campus back in Qatar, Northwestern is, foremost in the world in journalism. And so they have, since 2013, a partnership with Al Jazeera to put interns and Northwestern-trained journalists into Al Jazeera. Who is Al Jazeera? Al Jazeera is the state-owned media of the Qatari government.
So that may explain for some people why they're receiving a message, perhaps, that they perceive as somewhat favoring pro-Hamas protesters in some of these protests on campuses that we've seen. So it seems like you're really connecting a lot of the dots here.
Yes, and the tough questions need to be asked. For example, why did you negotiate and kind of give away the store to your pro-Palestinian, pro-terrorist protesters on campus?
You're talking about the president of Northwestern here, right?
Yes, so the president of Northwestern, Michael Schill, he actually chose to negotiate and not arrest the protesters on his campus, and he gave away the store. For example, they got an aid tent through June 1st, but more than a tent, they got a house which has to be built by 2026 on university property. They got the reinstatement of the quote-unquote advisory investment committee. That's the committee that's going to go after and try to defund Israeli commitments in the school's investments. And they got other things. For example, like they got 5 additional Palestinian scholarships. They got 2 additional faculty on staff.
And so you're talking about this agreement, which actually has been criticized by Jewish media and Jewish groups in Northwestern, in the Chicago area. And so you're saying that there is a connection between the fact that Northwestern basically gave this pro-Hamas student group, these pro-Hamas, pro-Palestinian groups at Northwestern, everything they wanted in an agreement, and it's not a coincidence then that Northwestern is receiving what you said is $690 million since 2007 from Qatari-based entities. Is that kind of connecting the dots there a little bit?
Yeah, these are the questions that need to be asked. The hard question at Northwestern is, why did we see the historic shift toward negotiating with the pro-Palestinian protesters that actually were advocating on behalf of Hamas and terrorist organizations? They were demonstrating bigotry and anti-Semitism toward their Jewish students. And look, Hamas, they use the horrific tactics against Israel of hostage taking and using their own people as human shields. So Northwestern has a lot to answer for here.